everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneur Showcase Series brought to you by Patranya Media LLC and Parkway Media Partners. I'm your host, Patranya Poonswan, and today our very special guest is Shameka Green. She is the founder of Emma's House Inc. Welcome to the show, Shameka.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm always excited to talk about Emma's House, so thank you.
This is definitely your passion. So, when you think of a nonprofit, and Emma's House Inc. is definitely an epitome of that and what you started and your story. So I'm so excited to be sharing your personal story along with how you came to start this nonprofit called Emma's House Inc. So It's great to have you here on the show. So Shameka, first tell me a little bit about this. Emma's House Inc. When did you actually launch this nonprofit?
So I actually launched Emma's House around 2016, but the dream was birthed years prior to that. And of course, it was because of the things that I had went through as a child. And so it's my passion project, but it was official around 2016.
2016. So you launched Emma's House Inc. And I have to ask about the name because your name is Shameka.
Right.
And this is called Emma's House. So what is the significance of the name Emma's House?
Yes. So I'm glad you asked that because a lot of people always say, well, okay, Emma, but my name is Shameka. But Emma's House was birthed because when my mother went to prison when I was 7, I went to live with my maternal grandmother and her name was Emma. And then years later after she passed, I went to live with my mother's boyfriend, his mother, and her name was Emma. So it's just crazy how the universe would work that he would send these two powerful women into my life and they both were named Emma. And so I knew that once I got older, I would want to give back to children that look like me, but it would have to pay homage to Emma, who is my grandmother.
So Emma's House, that's your grandmother's name.
Yes.
And the fact that it was called Emma's House, and this is significant, is because her house, her space, that was where you found a lot of the love and safety and comfort during some of the most difficult years of your life. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So I always say that my trauma story sadly started when I was 2, when my father was brutally murdered. And then at the age of 7, that's when my mother went to prison. And so I didn't have stability. I didn't have a home anymore. I didn't have my parents. And so when I went to live with my grandmother, Emma, that was the only stability that I had. And so life just had its way of bringing so many traumatic things in my life, even experiencing sexual abuse during that time. And so it was very difficult. And so when I think about Emma's House, I think about the love that was shared in that home because it was so needed. But again, I lost that stability. And that was tough. It was a tough journey.
So Emma, your grandmother, and a late grandmother, she passed away quite a few years ago now,
She did,
right?
from cancer.
From cancer. So she was your source of stability and safety and love. And, that actually, despite all the challenges and trauma you went through, because of her love and the space that she gave you, you were able to build a life after that. So that was the big part of your growth, right? So tell us about that.
Yes. So if it wasn't for her love and her compassion, I don't know where I would be because I would be lost, especially concerning like statistics. It would say that I wouldn't be where I am today. But to be a marriage and family therapist, to be an international best-selling author, the founder of this amazing organization and other projects that I do have going on, it's so beautiful to see what I call the beauty from ashes type of story.
Yeah. And Beauty from Ashes was actually one of the books that you wrote,
it is.
Right?
My first book is actually named Beauty from Ashes, which is my memoir. And I went on to write 8 other books. But that's my first one.
It's pretty amazing, how maybe just one person in your life could make such an impact. And maybe they didn't even know at that time how much that she had shaped you to be who you are today.
Yeah, I'm sure she didn't understand the impact that she was going to make in my life. It's just, I want to just give you love, safety, and care. But the fact that she was able to mold me and shape me into like the amazing woman that I am today, I'm so grateful. And that's why I'm so keen on doing this for other women and other children so they don't have to go through the things that I went through. Like, if we could stop those barriers now, that would be amazing. So we won't have to see them suffer in such a way.
That's amazing. And, this kind of brought us to where we are today. So Emma's House Inc., this nonprofit that you started back in 2016, you were really aiming for a place to help especially young girls who are going through. So tell us about some of the programs that you started, some of the things that you've done as part of this organization.
Yes, so every program is purpose driven. And so, for example, like the SML program, which stands for Samira Marie Lee. She is named after my cousin, and Samira sadly passed away when she was 7.
Wow.
And so that program for elementary school girls is to help them identify their identity, self-love, and friendship, and all of those things. And so I wanted to pay homage to her. And then our Beauty from Ashes program, which is for children of incarcerated parents, because I was one, and sadly I still am an adult child of an incarcerated parent. So again, everything has a purpose because I know what it feels like to walk down that path.
Yeah. And tell me about some of the stories of people you've met and some of the families that you have helped through this organization.
Yeah. Well, that really pulls on my heartstrings to see people in what feels like such a very low place or not have hope, and then come to Emma's house and feel like, wow, it's not just me that's experiencing these things. I'm not on the island by myself. I'm not alone. And then give them the services that they need to navigate through this life. That is so amazing because it gives them hope. And that's what we do at Emma's house. We plant that seed of hope. We give you the tools so you can rewrite your story.
Yeah. And, we have some pictures that you brought to show us, and these are some of the kids you have helped, some of the programs they've been through. And it's so great to see these faces and just, I think just being together and having that support, I think, of other children who've gone through this similar trauma. Do you feel like that's a big part of what you do here as well?
Absolutely. It's very important to have that community aspect, that peer support. You need that. And so you don't feel like you're alone because maybe you need to call on someone during those times. And again, I'm grateful to have someone like Emma in my life, to be able to pull on to support me. And that's what Emma's house is about. It's about that support.
Yeah. And you see people of all ages. You're not just targeting kids, but talk to me about the different kind of age groups that you're targeting right now with the programs that you have in place.
Yes. So the programs is for elementary school girls, middle school, and high school. But then we also have the Sister Cycle, which is for women, and we give women bikes for mental health wellness because I am a therapist. And so that kind of ties, into each other. And so we also offer therapy programs. And again, because I specialize in trauma, I specialize in grief. And so I know that my story is very inspiring to others because not only do I know it professionally, but personally as well.
Yeah. And you're talking about mental health. That is such a big part of it. And talk to me about that background that you've gone, because you went to school to become a therapist, right?
Yes. I actually went to Capella University and I have a master's in mental health, and my degree is in marriage and family therapy. I have a private practice, and that is a big part of it because it's almost like if your mental wellness is not intact, everything else just kind of falls out of place. And so I put that inside of the programs for the girls, but also for the women as well. That is so essential, especially during the time that we suffered during the pandemic. That was tough.
Yeah. No, I would imagine, especially, you having this kind of background and be able to so that's probably part of how you kind of shape your nonprofit and your programs, right? Just kind of stemming from obviously your personal challenges, but also kind of the education you've gotten through to become a therapist.
Yeah, it's a great balance of the two in terms of life experience and textbook. So sometimes I say textbook is the foundation, but life experience is your teacher. And so I've blended the two. So that way people can know, like, oh, she's so relatable because she does understand from many aspects.
Yeah, it's so great. And we're talking to Shameka Green right now. She is the founder of Emma's House, Inc., a nonprofit based right here in Las Vegas, Nevada. The place where obviously, we have so many nonprofits here in town, so many great people doing amazing things. But what really kind of makes you stand out with this particular nonprofit is kind of your mission and goals, but also kind of stemming from your own experiences.
Yes.
I think that really kind of made this something special that you bring to the community. And have you been able to kind of find, the support so far? Like, tell me about the people who stepped up and say, hey, I want to help you and support you so far.
Well, the community is amazing. They help me to keep going because they help with the donations, but they help with volunteering. And even organizations such as like SCORE helping me with the business aspect of it. And so the community support has been amazing. There is no I in team. I can't do it solo. And so I appreciate all the supporters that we do have.
Yeah. And, talking about, this part of the program here is to kind kind of offer an insight into, how someone built their business, how someone formed their nonprofit, and just kind of bringing their vision to light. So let's talk a little bit about, your process when you were thinking, okay, I really want to start Emma's House. I have this program in place. I want to make it a reality. What were some of the steps that you went through to kind of, okay, this is kind of my path to success? What did you have to go through?
Well, such a great question. It was literally just a dream in a journal, right? And then when I believe like a licensed intern is when it formatted into something real. And so I remember just kind of talking to a colleague about what I wanted to do, and she directed me to SCORE of how to make it real. And I went with them with my dream, and they made it real. And so they helped me to walk through that process. But I always knew what I wanted to do. I just didn't know how to go about doing that. And so it was an amazing process because I was willing to learn, but I was committed to it.
But that's the thing. It's like, I feel like so many people want to start something, they have that vision, but they never really kind of take that solid step, or asking for that help and say, hey, I do need the help and guidance, or else this is not going to get off the ground.
Yes. Well, I'm very goal-oriented because I am so resilient because of the things that I went through growing up in Detroit, that it was always something inside of me, like, I know that I want something better. There's something greater. Right. I just have to figure out how to get there. I know that where I want to go, the destination, I just need to figure out the path. And everything I do, it follows that format.
And, when they talk about nonprofit, people think, oh, it's a community thing. It's not a business. It's, a community organization. But in a way, you have to think of this kind of as a small business, right? Because you have to sustain it. And so kind of what's kind of your process in thinking about it that way?
Yeah. Well, we still need funding, to be able to carry out the vision. Of course, when you first start out, you're like, I can do this. I would fund it for myself if I could. But, that's not a reality. Right. And so the more funds that we have, the bigger we can reach the kids in the community, the more things that we can do for them, the more that we can expose them to great things. Yeah. And so, that is the business aspect of it.
So talk to me about some of that, because you've reached out to some great organizations and they've responded. For example, Build-A-Bear, you worked with Build-A-Bear before. How did that work come about?
I did. So I'm always the queen of just, I call it like shooting my shot. Like if there's something that I want, I'm going to go for it. So I reached out to Build-A-Bear to help with our campaign because we were doing this during the pandemic. My son was so amazing because he was willing to help. And so we sent out care packages during the pandemic. And so we had Build-A-Bear, we had our journals, we had like amazing mugs and affirmation things. And so again, that's why that community support is so important, because they were able to gift us the bears that we needed, because the kids needed that for comfort.
Right. Yeah. Right. And talking about community support, you are in a place right now in 2023 that you need a major community support. Yeah. So talk to us about this campaign that you have underway.
Yeah, my major acts, my big give. But during the pandemic, we had to move out of our building, of course, naturally, adjusting to life. And so now we're getting back to what people call like the new normal. Right. And so we need a building. We need a space for kids. We need that stable stability.
The house.
Right. Absolutely. So we can't call it Emma's house without the house, right? We need the house for the kids to come to. And so what I am asking is for donations, or even someone to donate space that they're willing to give us, so we can have those programs in the community again, but then that it's a staple, because there's nothing like, having your own home, somewhere to call your own. And that's what we want the kids to do. We don't want them to be displaced, and so we're working on that House of Love campaign. And I want the community support, and I want them to feel like they have a stake in this.
Yeah. So House of Love campaign now underway. How are people finding out about this campaign?
So I'm doing all I can to talk about it on every platform, as you can see. Yeah. But the House of Love campaign, you can find out about it on our website at emmashouseinc.org, our social media sites, Emma's House Inc. on Facebook and Instagram. But the campaign is there on the page where you can donate. And again, if you have space that you would like to donate, we would take it as well. And then share it. Share it with everyone in your community. Be a part of something great.
Yeah. And, obviously the goal is to have this house and have some of these programs again, right?
Absolutely.
In order to have it within
Yes.
this space. So the faster we can get this space up and going, the more you can do to launch your programs.
Yes, and then we can reach more kids again. But then again, having that stability, having that house of love, that says a lot within itself. But we need that. You know, we are such in need of having that space for the kids again. And I want that. Yeah. And we have the ability to change someone's life. I think that's what I want the community to know too, that don't think that your donation is small, because it's not. You know, if we reach one, that's amazing, because you are changing someone's life. Just like that one person changed my life. You could do the same.
I love it. And, you know, just before we go, what's your advice to other women out there? Obviously, we are, you know, a lot of us can't be here without the support of others. And you as a nonprofit leader and founder and someone in the community who's really kind of pushed with women empowerment, what's your advice for people maybe thinking of starting something of their own, you know, something they've been passionate about, maybe starting their own nonprofit?
Well, I'm very big on women's empowerment, but the first thing I always say or tell people is that in life, things are going to happen. You can make it a speed bump, but not a roadblock. So when you say yes to something, be committed, good, bad, or indifferent, because there's going to be ups and downs, but you have to stay connected to your why. Why am I starting this? Why am I here? And once you do that, you'll never give up. Stay connected to your why.
I love that. Stay connected to your why. Great advice. And best of luck to you. This House of Love campaign is amazing. And if they want to get more information, they can go to emmashouseinc.org. Well, thanks so much for being here on the show with us, and best of luck to you.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and thank you for watching as well. We'll be back next time.